Hello, welcome back to the podcast. It's Thursday here and it's about to come over with a storm. It's been like a beautiful day here. Anyways, I'm feeling good. I'm ready to jump back into another episode with you. And thanks to everyone who has sent some really nice messages about the podcast that they're listening. I'm not just speaking this into a vacuum. That feels really nice to know that there are people out there interested in this. And if you do like the podcast, please make sure to subscribe and review it because that helps me so much. So in this episode, I am going to jump into some automations that I have set up in my business that I just love, because a lot of clients who come to me, or people are thinking about working with me, often come really overwhelmed and they don't know where they should be implementing AI or automations, or they've tried automations in the past and it's just become too hard for them. So the purpose of showing you some of the ones that I am doing is to kind of get an idea of the strategy that I use and the framework that I run through with clients that I work with as well, and just get some ideas about how you can automate processes in your business. So yeah, let's get in. I'm excited. I'm ready to show you some of these, and I hope that you'll get heaps of ideas and feel really inspired. Set some of this stuff up, because I just can't believe we live at the time that we do, where you can get AI to create some of these, or do kind of some of the stuff that it can do, which I will show you now. All right. So if you are watching this on YouTube, you will be able to see this visually. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, I will do my best to explain this. So I love NAN for automations. Now, a lot of software that you are using have automation capabilities built in now, which is really, really cool. And when I'm working with clients, I will often say, let's use what you've got. You don't always need to change systems. And sometimes it is just looking at what they're using and can they be using that better. And yeah, if you can get something off the shelf, 100%. Sometimes that's easier. Sometimes it really does make sense to pay $20 a month for a subscription rather than trying to mess around in a system like NAN to build your own. However, if you are looking for custom or complex workflows, then NAN is the one that I recommend. If you're new to automations, something like Zapier or Make is where you would start. And also, I still have automation set up with Zapier. So sometimes for simple one-step apps, I don't pay for Zapier. They're easier. It has a native integration. For example, Fathom natively integrates with Zapier. That's my meeting note taker, Fathom, for anyone who doesn't know. And so I have set a Zap up that takes my meeting transcripts and saves them to a Google Doc. That is easy. That took me a minute to set up. 100% I'll use Zapier for something like that. But when you're doing complex workflows or multi-step workflows and they're super custom, then NAN is going to be your best friend. So the first one I'm going to show you is a really simple one that I've got. So my CRM is a CRM called Moxie. And so what this does is it watches for someone who books into my CRM, and the meeting that they've booked in is my 90-minute one-to-one consult. So this webhook that I have just watches, grabs that data, and then I've just got it filtered out. So if they have booked in for a 90-minute consult with me and that equals true, then they follow this path. And what this does is it sends them an email from me with a thank you, and it also has next steps, and it has a comprehensive intake form. Now, I have been asked previously, why wouldn't I just do this in my CRM Moxie? Because you do get confirmation emails, and all of the meeting structure and the payment is handled in my CRM. Why I've gone to do this is separate. This is a really comprehensive form that I want people to fill in when they book that consult. That just gives me heaps of information up front that I can then research about their business. I can think about some AI and automation opportunities, and then we can talk through that in that 90-minute consult. And that just means that I can leverage that time with them rather than me just gathering all of that information in the call, and then we're not really left with much time to, talk about some of the ideas that I have for them. And let me show you what happens after that. So the other reason why I have used this and not my CRM is because I wanted the data in a format that was easy for AI to use. So when we're thinking about our workflows, sometimes we need to tweak things to make that information or that data easily available to an automation or AI. My CRM's forms aren't easily exported into something like Google Sheets or Excel. The form that I sent in that Gmail trigger, like the node, then captures their information and it saves it automatically to a Google Sheet. And then what that does, if you are watching on YouTube, you will see this. If not, again, I'm going to try and describe this. So now I've got a new workflow open. The trigger for the automation is a Google Sheet and a row is added. So every time someone fills out intake form, their responses get added to this Google Sheet, which triggers this next automation. And this is actually an AI agent. And so when you're thinking about AI agents and automations and you're like, what the hell's the difference? So automations follow a very clear, like step by step by step. So that would be, the Google Sheet trigger, then this happens, then this happens, then this happens. And if any one part of that doesn't work, the automation stops. Those following steps of where it's broken don't execute. With an AI agent, what happens is that data from the Google Sheet gets passed through to the agent, and then it has a system prompt telling it this is what you need to do with that information, and it chooses based on the tools that it has attached to it, that it has access to, what to do. And so for this agent, what happens is all of the data gets passed through the Google Sheet to the agent. It has an OpenAI chat model attached. And what that is like the agent's brain. That's like the AI that powers this agent. And then here, I've got two tools. One is Perplexity, which is amazing for like web search, research. And then the other tool is a Slack message. So here is the AI agent reads and understands the data using my OpenAI little brain that I've attached to it. And then it goes out and researches about the company that has booked in for a consult. It understands their responses in the context of AI and automation opportunities and goes out, looks at the tools that they have said that they use, their processes, what are other people using in that same industry. And then it sends me a message in Slack saying, I've done some research for you on your consult, and you can find that in Notion. And then the final part of this workflow is it adds that research. It's like a little report, a little rundown for me into Notion. And then I just open that up and I can prep for this consult. And I also go back and read the actual form responses, but it just saves me heaps of time in that initial prep for this consult. And again, this means when I'm showing up to those consults, ready to get stuck in with, my client, rather than that the time is spent in information gathering and then we don't really get much done in that consult. The next automation that I want to talk about again is simple. And this was just something that I was like, I don't want to have to manually do this. So I'm going to set up an automation. So this is 2 steps with a filter in between. That's all this automation is. But it is another Google Sheet. So that's the trigger for our automations. We always need a trigger, which is like the starting point. So this one is a Google Sheet. So my website is built on Squarespace, which annoyingly you can't have webhooks attached to. If you're like, what the fuck's a webhook? It's basically a way that our computers, I'll say computers, can grab data and then pass it through to another system. So Squarespace, someone fills in a form, their name, their email address, that sort of thing. That is all data fields, right? Their name, email address, why they're contacting me. With a webhook, that would be able to grab that data and then send it to something else. That's essentially what it does. Squarespace annoyingly doesn't allow you to do that. However, what it does do is lets you save those form submissions to a Google Sheet. So I'm like, sweet. Okay, we can work with this. So this one is for my membership. So I've recently launched a membership. And so that's for people who have done my AI Dream Team workshop. So they're upskilled in AI and they're ready to continue to implement that. It's not a starting point. This is for people who are quite skilled now with AI or automations, and they want community and they want accountability and also access to some of these templates that I have made and a whole bunch of resources. But I want to keep this highly curated. Like, I want the right people in this membership because a big aspect of it is community, but it's also readiness. Like, if you're not that comfy with AI, then that's where my AI Dream Team workshop would be suitable. And then, you would think about coming to the membership. So on that page on my website, you can apply to become a member. And then what this automation does is it captures that data into a Google Sheet and then filters out based on their responses. Like, are they a newbie? Are they experienced, or are they like kind of intermediate or advanced? I think I've got here actually. And then what that does is it writes a personalized email to them based on their responses. And so for people who are new, I will send them to my free Intro to AI and Automations workshop. And then, they can think about joining the AI Dream Team. For people who are experienced, so, they've dabbled a little bit, it will look at their responses and then determine, whether or not they're the right fit. And same with advanced, it looks at their responses and then we'll write an email based on that. So that again is like amazing because it means that I'm not manually going through all of these applications. Like, if you're brand new, I know that you're not ready to join this. So I don't need to be touching that. I'm probably going to take this even further and then just get it to ping me in Slack just so that I know and I don't have to be like checking my emails. I know that it's actioned, or it's like, hey, heads up, there's someone who's a really good fit, and then I'll offer them a place and it's pinged me in Slack. And the final one I'm going to show you is another AI agent. And this is simple again, but high impact. So what this AI agent does is goes through my emails because I'm always looking for PR opportunities, and I'm signed up to some email lists that let you know when there's PR. But the thing with that is you need to be on it straight away. Like, you need to read that and pitch for it straight away. And I would always forget to look at these emails. So I was like, okay, this is a problem. How can I solve this with AI? So what I did was I built an agent here. So it goes into my Gmail and checks my emails from certain senders. So these PR like places. Then what it does is it reads through those emails and it determines whether or not there are any PR opportunities for me to pitch for based on, my industry, like AI, automation, business, that sort of thing. And then it pings me in Slack. So this happens twice a day. It will let me know, hey, there's some like opportunities that you can pitch for, or it is like, nah, there's nothing at this time, and then it'll, run again in the afternoon. So that's another really high impact, really simple problem that I solved in my own business. But it just stops me from having to go into my emails and rely on me remembering to check that. And it also keeps me out of my inbox. I don't need to worry about that. I know this agent has that handled, and it'll just ping me in Slack when it needs to. So that was a little deep dive in just a few of the simple yet highly impactful automations or AI agents that I have set up to help me in my own business. And a lot of you are probably listening who and you're like, I have no idea what just happened. If that's you, I'm sorry. Go watch the YouTube and that might make a little bit more sense to you. And for those of you who are like, oh my God, I need this in my business, slide into my DMs or you can book in directly on my website. We can do a consult, or if you are an OBM or a VA or you do these things yourself, then you can apply for the membership, because I do share a lot of like the behind the scenes builds in that membership. But I guess the key takeaway from today is, one, when you're thinking about AI and automations, keep it simple. You want to start with your strategy first. And this is like, I've developed a whole framework around this. And the first part of my stack method is strategy, because clients come to me and they're like, oh, we need a chatbot or something like that. And then I will look and work through this and talk through this with them. And sometimes, honestly, they just need like FAQs clearly on their website, or they need the right FAQs on their website. Other people, it is like, yeah, a chatbot would be highly effective here, or, these automations would really help, or we can set up some custom GPTs that are really going to have high impact in your business. But you need to really think about the strategy first. Like, what is the end goal of this implementation? Because if you don't have that nutted out at first, then you aren't going to see that ROI, because you weren't clear on what that should be in the first place. So I hope you found this helpful. And I haven't done an AI confession booth in the last couple of episodes. I don't know how I feel about that. If you're missing out, let me know. Slide into my DMs with something that you have used AI for. It doesn't have to be like unhinged. It can just be like maybe a creative way that you have used it, and I'll share it on the show. But yeah, I'm going to sign off here. That was a lot, but I hope you found it helpful, and I'll see you on the next episode.